Welcome back to my channel. I'm Beth Morgan, the Poor Valley Princess, and if it's your first time joining me, thank you so much. On this channel, we talk about all things Appalachian. Today, we're taking a road trip to my husband's childhood home, to the place where he grew up, because there is something amazing growing at his old home place that you need to see. I know this tree is absolutely gorgeous. It is beautiful. I'm not sure how old this tree is. Maybe we can find out from my father-in-law in just a moment, but it is a gorgeous tree and it supplies so much fruit. The birds, the deer, all of the animals in the area, that you can find them under this tree just enjoying the fruits. So we're going to get some of that today and we're going to get started making some delicious treats. If you don't know about the mulberry tree, here's a little more information. Summertime is here in Appalachia, and that means it is canning season as well. Today, I want to pick a couple of buckets full of these delicious mulberries, and we are going to see what we can make out of those. So let's get picking. Well, I have about 10 cups here, and so we are ready to get started processing these. So the mulberries have been picked and I brought them home. I gave them a good wash in the sink. I just dumped them all in one of my colanders and gave them a good dunking, a good wash, and picked out all the little pieces that I could. And now I have those berries in a large pot, and I'm going to add in a half a cup of water just in the bottom of my pot. I'm adding in my half a cup of water, but we're mostly wanting the juices. So we don't want to add in more water than that, but we don't want it to stick either. So I've got this set on medium heat, and I'm going to bring it up to a boil and start mashing these berries up to get those juices releasing. One of my favorite implements to use when I'm juicing berries is the Pampered Chef Chop and Stir. I think this is actually meant for meat, but this implement works so well when you are mashing up berries or anything like that, that you just need to stir and get the juices out. So if you have one of these, if you've never tried it on berries, give it a try. I think you'll like it. Now while this is getting warmed up, I also have my stock pot here on the stove with my wire basket in it, and my jelly jars are heating up because when this jelly is ready to be put in the jars, we want our jars to be ready to go. So I cleaned my jars, I've got them in my pot, and they are heating up even as we speak. Let me show you now what it looks like. So one of the things about mulberries that you may not know is when you pick them off the tree, they come off with the little stem. And those little stems are impossible to separate from the fruit. So what I'm doing here is I'm just giving it a quick mash up with my chop and stir from Pampered Chef. You could use a potato masher or a large spoon or something like that. But I'm just going to let these continue to cook. You can see that half a cup of water I put in the bottom is helping to get those juices going. And I'm just going to continue doing this until it's going pretty good. I will probably let this boil at a low heat for around 40 minutes once it gets going. And we'll be back in a few to see what it looks like. Okay, this mixture has been going for about 5 minutes, and you can see how it's starting to really break up and boil. So I'm going to turn it down now to a lower heat and just let it simmer. All right, the berries have been simmering on low, and now they are ready to be taken off. I have my cheesecloth inside of a strainer, a colander, inside of a bowl, inside of a bigger bowl, inside of my sink in order to get the juice out of these. So let's do that step next. Here are all the berries that have simmered and are ready to be juiced. So I've got my cheesecloth laid out here, and I'm just going to gently pour this into the cheesecloth, and I'm going to try to be careful because these things stain so badly. I don't want to get it all over everything. I'm going to let this just sit for a minute because my cheesecloth is inside of a colander. So as it drains through the cheesecloth and through the colander into the bowl, it will be easier for me to squeeze out the rest of the juice in just a moment. Now you can gently press on the berries as well, and that's going to also help release those juices, but be very gentle. We're ready to gather up the cheesecloth. You can see all that juice coming out of the bottom there. And I'm just going to let this sit for a little while, and we'll be back. Now for the next part, we need to be exact. We need 4.5 cups of prepared juice to make our jelly. You may or may not have squeezed out 4.5 cups. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and measure out my 4.5 cups. There's 2 cups. Now, it looks like I just have 3 cups total. So I'm going to add in water to make 4.5 cups. It's that simple. Now I could have gone back to my berries and given it another squeeze and tried to get out a little bit more. Now adding water to this is not going to hurt it at all. So I had my 3 cups of freshly squeezed juice from my mulberries, and then I added in a cup and a half of water, and that gave me the perfect amount of juice that I need to make my jelly. Now back to the stove top. I have my juice that we just measured out already on the stove and getting warmed, ready to boil. And here I have my pectin and a 1/4 cup of sugar. I measured out 3 cups of sugar because that's how much sugar I do need for this recipe. And then I just took out a 1/4 cup and mixed with my pectin. And I'm going to stir that in with my juice mixture. We're going to let that come to a boil. It's important that you're very exact with these measurements. So let's let that boil and we'll be right back. Okay, this mixture is now coming to a boil. I'm going to let it come on up to a full rolling boil, or boil. We say rolling boil in Appalachia. I'm trying to talk proper so you can understand me. Once it comes to a full rolling boil, or as we say, rolling boil, you can add in the rest of your sugar and keep stirring. That's important because it would be so easy at this point for this to stick or to scorch. So be very careful that you don't allow that to happen as you're pouring in the rest of your sugar. Just give it a continual stir there until you get it all incorporated into your mixture. We're going to let that come up, back up to a rolling boil. A rolling boil. While this is coming back up to a boil, I'm going to pull my hot jars out because we're going to be ready to ladle this into our jars as soon as it has boiled for 1 whole minute. And it's starting to boil, so I'm going to go ahead and set my timer. Alexa, set timer for 1 minute.
1 minute, starting now.
We're going to let that boil for 1 minute, and while it's doing that, I'm going to get my jars out and get them ready. Alexa, stop timer. There's our 1 minute timer, which means our jelly is ready. So I'm going to turn it off. It smells delicious. While I continue getting my jars ready, and we're going to let that hot jelly mixture go into these hot jars. Hopefully I have enough jars ready. Now, when I was washing these jars in preparation of filling them with the jelly mixture, I did go ahead and feel of all the rims, and I made sure that they were nice and whole, no cracks or chips or anything. And I'm getting ready to paint my kitchen, and somehow my metal funnel has got packed away. And so I'm going to have to use my spice funnel, which is going to be a little strange, but it doesn't matter as long as you can get that jelly into the jars. So now I'm just going to ladle my hot jelly mixture into my hot jars. I'm going to try not to make too big of a mess because, like I said, this stuff really stains. My grandmother used to talk about how when she was a child, her older brother was her school teacher, and they didn't have pencils and crayons and things, and if they wanted to make their own ink so they could write, they would use different berries that they found growing around the schoolhouse that she attended. And I can totally see that working using mulberries, because this stuff really stains. All right, ready for jar number 2. I'm hoping I have enough to fill up 5 jars. We'll see in just a moment. I did get out 2 of the little jelly jars, but to be honest, when my whole family is in, those 2 little jelly jars, that it's just not enough. They like to eat jelly, and they will eat the whole jar. But I'm going to do 2 of the smaller jars for when it's just me and my husband. Now that our boys are going off on their own, we're finding ourselves in a new season of life. And cooking for 2 is much different than cooking for 4. And I'm finding that to be a difficult change in my life. All right. There's that jelly jar. That's 4 jars. I think had I done just the small jelly jars, I would have had 5, maybe 6. But because I filled up some of the bigger jars, I'm only gonna have 4 from this run. So yes, it depends on what size jar, of course, you're filling up as to how much you'll actually end up with. Okay, so I have my 4 jars. Now I've already got my lids and my rings prepared, but before I do that, I'm going to take a paper towel, and I'm going to go ahead, I don't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and just soak it in a little bit of vinegar. And I'm going to go around the outside of my jars and just clean them off. It's important that you make sure before you put your lids and rings on that you have cleaned off around the rim. You don't want anything to ruin all of this hard work that you've done. We want all 4 of these jars to seal. Okay? So now that I have that cleaned off, looking good, I'm going to grab the rings and the lids. Now I've already prepared these. I did go ahead and wash off my lids in hot water. And I am just going to close these finger tight, which if you don't know what that means, it means you just close it as much as you can with just 2 fingers. Now that we have our 4 jars of jelly prepared, we're going to give them a quick water bath. You can look up the times for your area. In my area, I'm going to water bath these for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to let them sit in the water for 5 before I pull them out. This is just going to give us that extra layer of protection that we're just killing any kind of bacteria that could be on the jar. Back in the old days, did they do this? No. When I was growing up, my mother would hot pack jelly all the time and never water bathed it. Is that fine? Sure it is. This is just another layer of protection that we can give ourselves. And I say, if there is another layer of protection, why on earth would you not do it? Why would you not choose to do it if you can? So I'm just going to take these, and I've got my water bath can or basket down in the bottom of this pot. I'm just going to put those on there. And we're going to let these go for 10 minutes. So Alexa, set timer for 10 minutes.
10 minutes starting now.
And in 10 minutes, I'll come back in, we'll turn it off, we'll let it sit for 5, and then I'll show you how we're gonna bring them out. So, see you in 10. We've got our jellies in the water bath, and they're gonna be ready in just a few minutes. As I was cleaning up, I noticed a little bit of jelly on the side of the pot, and I thought, hey, let's give it a taste. That's gonna be great on a biscuit. Some toast. Mulberry jelly. It's delicious. Thanks for joining me today. If you like these recipes that come from Appalachia, you like to know a little bit more about what we do and how we live here in rural Appalachia, please like and subscribe and share these videos with your friends and neighbors. I appreciate your support. I am Beth Morgan, the Poor Valley Princess. Thank you for watching, and I hope you will give mulberry jelly a try. It is super sweet. Kind of reminds me of blackberry. It's really good though. You'll love it on a biscuit. Give it a try.